Hello and welcome back to the Hot Action Podcast. This is Matt Kerr, and I'd like to start the show off by apologizing for not releasing an episode last week. As you may remember, I predicted horribly incorrectly on week 6, and I had to pawn my computer in order to pay off gambling debts. But after a week of hard labor and exceptionally good gambling, I am back in the game. Even though there's no real record of it, I went 11-3 in the pick'em last week. And if you're still listening, I'm still predicting. So let's get to my predictions, shall we? Week 8 kicks off with the Miami Dolphins visiting the Baltimore Ravens. Miami's 4-2, Baltimore's 3-4. You have to give up 3.5 points to bet on the Ravens. But Miami is put in Matt Moore. Now they got rid of that bum Cutler. And you get points. Baltimore's looking like trash all year. Give me the Dolphins plus 3.5. Next up, we start Sunday morning with a 6:30 a.m. game in London, England. We've got the Minnesota Vikings at 5-2 visiting the Cleveland Browns, 0-7. The Browns are 9.5-point underdogs. Minnesota, more or less, has been kicking the ass of most of the teams they face. Cleveland has no wins. This is a neutral field. I'm taking Minnesota. Sorry for the disruptions in sound quality, everybody. My dog is being a real shit disturber right now. But then the real morning gets started at 10 a.m., where San Francisco are visiting the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are 6-1. San Francisco is 0-7. The Eagles are 13.5-point favorites. And I don't think that line is quite big enough. I'm going to be taking the Eagles minus 13.5. Then we have the Chicago Bears, 3-4, visiting the New Orleans Saints, 4-2. The Saints are 8.5-point favorites, and Chicago has looked like total trash every week so far. They've managed to win really ugly games by not passing. They've looked better with Trubisky. They've definitely looked more like they've got more fight in them. But I'm going to go ahead and take New Orleans. They've actually looked like a proficient offense, even though their defense is pretty atrocious. Then we have the 4-3 Carolina Panthers visiting the 2-4 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You get 2.5 points if you bet on Carolina, so I'm going to be taking them. They've been up and down all season. They were down last game. I think it's time for them to go up. Tampa has looked quite inconsistent. At least Carolina has looked like they can get stuff going. Give me Carolina plus 2.5. And then we've got the 3-3 Atlanta Falcons visiting the 3-4 New York Jets, a.k.a. the winning New York team. Atlanta's been pretty god-awful the last few weeks. The Jets have been pretty decent at making covers with the points they're getting. I'm going to go ahead and take the Jets 4.5-point home dogs. And then you have the 3-4 Oakland Raiders at the 4-2 Buffalo Bills. And Oakland are 2.5-point road dogs. I really like this line if you're betting on Oakland because they just went and beat the best team in the AFC. I don't see why they shouldn't do the same to Buffalo. Buffalo has not been impressive enough to warrant this line being a positive number for the Raiders. I'm going to go ahead and take the Raiders plus 2.5. And then we have a big line. Indianapolis, 2-5 at Cincinnati, 2-4. Cincinnati are 10.5-point favorites. To be perfectly honest, Cincinnati have not been good enough to me to warrant being 10.5-point favorites over anybody. I'm taking the points. Give me Indianapolis plus 10.5. And then you have the LA Chargers, 3-4, visiting the 5-2 New England Patriots. Patriots are 7.5-point favorites. I'm going to keep going with what's working for me. Chargers lose close games. I like the points. 7.5 points is a big spread for Chargers. Chargers are always competitive. Give me the Chargers plus 7.5. All right, and after a really hefty morning schedule, the afternoon schedule is very light. We only got 2 games in the afternoon. First of all, we're going to start with Houston, 3-3 at the 4-2 Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks are 5.5-point favorites. Personally, I think this line is too big. I usually like Seattle at home, but this Houston team has been absolutely money so far. I'm taking Houston plus 5.5. And in the later afternoon game, we have the Dallas Cowboys 3-3 and the 3-3 Washington Redskins. The Redskins are 2.5-point home dogs. I don't think Dallas has been super impressive yet this year. I'm going to go ahead and take home dogs. Give me Washington plus 2.5. And then in Sunday Night Football, we've got the 5-2 Pittsburgh Steelers versus the 3-3 Detroit Lions. Now, the Lions started the year looking really impressive, but they've kind of fallen off lately. Pittsburgh started looking pretty bad and has turned on so far. I'm going to go ahead and take Pittsburgh minus 2.5. I think they're trending in the right way. I don't think Detroit is. Give me Big Ben and the Steel Curtain. Pittsburgh minus 2.5. And then in Monday Night Football, we've got Denver 3-3 at 5-2 Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are 7.5-point favorites, and honestly, I like them at this line. Denver has been getting absolutely dismantled every week. I don't really have anything good to say about them. Simeon's throwing them out of games. The only issue I could see is that Andy Reid does not know how to manage the clock. The Chiefs should have won that game this week, but they blew it due to poor coaching. I'm still giving it to Kansas City. Kansas City minus 7.5. That's my pick. In terms of best bets, I'm going to be going Minnesota minus 9.5, Carolina plus 2.5, Oakland plus 2.5, Indianapolis plus 10.5, and Pittsburgh minus 2.5. Unfortunately, I've fallen out of Survivor, so I won't be making any more picks this year. I fell out in week 6. Apparently, according to some bookies I know, some pools were paying out already. So maybe if you listened to me up until that point, you made some money. Either way, I'd like to apologize for missing last week's podcast. Hopefully that won't happen again this year. Hopefully I can keep going without having to pawn off my valuables, but this is the gambler's life, so I can't say anything. Just kind of remind you all that if it moves, you can bet on it. And see you next week.